Following on this episode of Law Weekly, another perspective on the 35% affirmative action judgment, issues of gender bias in the legal profession, and the role of the Nigerian Bar Association. We have the views of Mrs. Folashade Ali. Also showing on the program, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, speaks on the lack of prison records, a syndicate which allows convicted people to evade serving jail terms, and more importantly, how it affects us all. Plus our weekly recap of the top legal stories in the news. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Shola Shieli. Sticking with our focus on women, today I host the leading female legal practitioner, Folashade Ali. She's a chartered arbitrator who currently sits on the Professional Conduct Committee of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK. She's also the chairman Law Firm Management Committee of the Section of Legal Practice of the Nigerian Bar Association, Chairman International Trade Law of the Section on Business Law, and the Head Advocacy Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association Women Forum, and lots more. Folashade has over 30 years' experience in significant commercial projects and strategic transactions. She's been variously described as an exceptional lawyer with a strong business acumen. In this interview, I began with her journey into the legal profession and what it has been like so far.
I was born into a family of lawyers, being the first daughter of the legal icon, Are Chief Afe Babalola SAN, and four of my siblings are lawyers. So all I've known all my life is law. So being a lawyer is just what we all knew since I was born. But the journey, I would say, is one that's been great, but one also that's not been that easy. I mean, having a father like mine made me initially just not want to practice law after I graduated. So went to England after my LLM, decided that it was better for me to be a solicitor. So when I came back to Nigeria, I worked in a Lukanoy body for years, and I was head of intellectual property and did it for a while. Eventually went in to become a general counsel of one of the big shipping companies in Nigeria, Orange Shipping, Bolore group of companies. But I just didn't find joy just doing solicitor's work after a while. I mean, it took me, I'll say 20 years into my career before I really decided that I just was not enjoying not doing litigation. And decided that it was too late to go into start a career as an advocate. So I went into ADR and I started doing arbitration. I enjoyed it thoroughly, got to the peak of my career as a chartered arbitrator. I get appointments, and lo and behold, and I always tell people, it's never too late, don't give up. Now I'm into full-time practice. I go to court, I'm an advocate, I'm enjoying it thoroughly. So the journey has been one that's been long. And I think the lesson I would say for everyone is that don't give up in your dreams and don't think it's ever too late. Today, I'm a chartered arbitrator. I get appointments. I just appeared at Supreme Court last week, and I think I'm enjoying law, and I have a passion for it.
So having a legal icon as a father influenced your decision to study law?
Definitely, because when we were young, I mean, we read, we ate, everything was about law. My house was always packed full of lawyers, senior advocates. All of the lawyers in my dad's chambers used to come into the house, eat with us. So all I've known is law, and my father had a great influence on me, definitely, and on me doing law. Because there was no other course you could actually tell my dad you wanted to study. And that's why, I mean, out of the nine of us, 5 of us are lawyers. And the ones that are no lawyers probably even did law. My sister is an example. She studied law as a first degree, even though she's into arts now, Olanle Austin Peters. So we've all, my dad has had a great influence in the choice of career. But I think it's a good profession, it's a good background to have. It gives you your legal mind, your creative mind, and you're able to do anything with law.
I know you said you were born into a family of lawyers, but have you faced bias in the profession, and how did you deal with it?
I think we all need to be honest about bias, and it's all over the world. I mean, women have been marginalized for years. So definitely I have experienced bias, but I would say that's how you as a woman allow it to affect you. You just need to overlook a lot of them, be determined, and don't let any form of bias. There are unwritten biases that we all don't talk about. The fact that a woman, that you're going to have a child because you've just gotten married. So you see law firms, when they interview you, they don't want to employ you because initially, once they hear you've just gotten married, the first thing that comes to their mind, oh, she's going to have a baby soon. So yes, I did experience bias. But what I've done for me is that I did not allow it to affect me. And I just ignore when you, especially because of the way I look, you get all kinds of remarks from people. But what you do is that you just make sure you stand your ground, let people know who you stand for and what you stand for. And after a while, people will respect you for who you are. So ladies out there, my advice is, there are biases. It's how you carry yourself that is important. Do not succumb to any form of harassment, to any form of biases. Be determined. When you work hard, your work will distinguish you because your excellence will show and people will know you for who you are.
Let's talk about the Federal High Court judgment on 35% affirmative action for women. Do you think that it would significantly change the status of women generally?
I definitely think it's a step in the right direction. The Federal High Court actually now ordering the federal government that going forward, 35% of public offices should be allocated to women is definitely a good step. We've been marginalized for years. When you read the judgment, the judge was so furious to the extent he was talking about the fact that we only have about 7 or 6 women in high positions. Even the senior advocates, how many women do we have? 4.2% of senior advocates in Nigeria are women. So definitely, it's not where we want to be. We would like it to be parity. It should be equal. But 35% is definitely from where we are coming from 4.22% to 35%. If the government can actually start appointing women in key positions, obviously we're not fighting for people that are not qualified. You must be qualified for you to get appointed for a position. So the fact that I'm a woman, I don't want anybody to give me a position because I'm a woman. I want it to be because I've earned it and I'm capable. Then I should be given that opportunity. That's really what we're talking about. And that's what I think it should be. And definitely, yes, the government, the Federal High Court's judgment is definitely one that I applaud.
Now, I know you were involved in drafting the sexual harassment policy of the Nigerian Bar Association, but would you say the NBA is doing enough to champion the issues affecting women in the profession and generally? Or what more do you think can be done?
Definitely, I would say that especially the president that we have now, Olu Akpata, has done tremendously well since he came into assumed office in 2020. The sexual harassment policy is an example. It was drafted by the Nigerian Bar Association Women's Forum. I was head of an advocacy committee and was in charge of actually drafting with a team of lawyers and drafting the policy. The president liked it and he adopted it as an NBA policy. So what he's done now is set up an implementation committee, and we have the Attorney General of Ekiti State, Wale Fakunda, as the chair, and a few of us were implementing that policy. And what does that mean? It means that going forward very soon, all law firms will be encouraged and actually mandated to adopt that sexual harassment policy as a policy in the law firm, so that we create safe workspaces for our ladies, and to let people realize, and ladies realize, that sexual harassment, there's a zero tolerance to sexual harassment in the workplace, and they have a right to complain. We've created a help desk, and the awareness is key so that they know the right portals they need to report to when they're sexually harassed in the workplace. So definitely the Nigerian Bar Association is getting better. We're not where we would like it to be. We need to have more forward-thinking presidents and people in high positions. I believe that there should be more women in positions of authority, even within the Nigerian Bar Association. I mean, I'm glad to hear, that Joyce Udua as an example, as now the General Secretary. Before, it was supposed to be a position that was only meant for men. How about president? Apart from Mrs. Ira Balogun, I'm not sure that, how many women have we had as presidents? I mean, we all know women are effective. We work hard when we're given such opportunity. So we're not where we would like to be, but I think we're getting better.
Now, finally, I know that you mentor a lot of young women in the legal profession, but you cannot possibly mentor everyone. So what advice will you give to young women out there who want to achieve the heights that you have attained in the profession?
I think my word would be that, first of all, don't give up. Impossibility, there's nothing that's too difficult. There's impossibility made possible. That's my dad's slogan. That's what I live by. That's never too late. Have mentors, have role models. If you know where you want to be, set a target for yourself. And I'm quite sure with hard work, have a good work-life balance. You must have your family. You cannot give one up for the other. Or prioritize, know what is important to you. And when you work hard, you distinguish yourself, definitely you would get to that goal that you have set for yourself. So you must have big dreams, dream big, and you would make it. So that's my advice. Do not give up. It's never too late to get to where you want to be. And for the younger ones, please do not leave the profession. So many lawyers are discouraged at the moment, but I would just advise them that law could be fun. We're trying our best to make the law profession what it was in my dad's era, where lawyers were seen as, nearly being like gods. But now, the profession doesn't even have much respect that it used to. But I think with all that is being done, the profession will become one again that we'll all be proud of. So that's my final word. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much for speaking to Law Weekly on Channels Television. And from that interview, we move to Bayelsa State, where the Nigerian Bar Association has condemned Wednesday's invasion of the High Court in Yenagoa by at least 50 suspected miscreants. We have details in this next report.
They were said to have disrupted proceedings in the hearing of a suit into the disputed ward, local government and state congresses of the All Progressives Congress APC at the Bayelsa High Court, where Justice Nayai Aganaba was presiding.
My brother was also contesting in one of the offices. So he felt his right has been trampled upon, so he decided to go to court and to ask the court to interpret in an originating summons if it was proper for the party to have gone ahead to conduct primaries when there was still a valid and subsisting court order. That was the case that was before the court as at yesterday, that they came and ransacked the court in that manner.
Hours after the attack, the executives and members of Yenagoa and Sagbama branch of the Nigerian Bar Association condemned the invasion of the court. Chairman of the Yenagoa branch of the NBA, who addressed journalists, condemned the desecration of the court by the alleged miscreants and applauded the police on the arrest of 2 suspects.
The Nigerian Bar Association, Yenagoa and Sagbama branches do hereby unequivocally state that it will do all within its powers to ensure that the culprits or the suspects are brought to book.
Meanwhile, the police has arraigned the 2 suspects arrested so far. While the defense counsel advised the court to ensure that innocent people are not accused, the prosecuting counsel asked that the suspects be kept in custody for 30 days.
And one of the basic reasons for requesting the court to remand the defendants is that the investigation into the matter is still ongoing. It is a capital offense, armed robbery, and attempted murder.
This brings to the fore again things like, ensuring that we have CCTV cameras in, public places. If we had all of this, we would have been able to pick the culprits and ensure that they, as against those that are innocent, are brought to court and made to suffer. You saw the second defendant, bloodied and wounded, made to sleep in those clothes, and then brought to the court the next day, only to be remanded for another 30 days. Well, the courts will do their job.
The suspects have been remanded in prison.
Welcome back. Senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has been speaking about the security situation in the country and the troubling lack of records in the correctional centers across the country. He told Law Weekly that some officials of the correctional centers and even some court officials connive to ensure that some convicted rich criminals do not serve their jail terms.
It's been on for years. But if the authorities of our correctional center or correctional service are now saying, in reaction to my claim that it no longer happens, I'm happy. If we are now told that there are biometrics, beautiful. But it's been going on for years. And in 2015, the Chief Judge of Anambra State, then, the Honorable Justice Umeati, conducted a visit to the prison, to Oka prison, Anambra State. And His Lordship discovered to his utter chagrin that many inmates have no record. So you cannot find anybody in a prison custody or a correctional center without a record. There must be a warrant directing the authorities to keep the person. But if there is no record, that speaks volumes. People are put in prison either in lieu of some big personalities. But I'm saying there are people in correctional centers in Nigeria without records. And in fairness to the prison authorities, sometimes, or most of the time, they direct the relatives of victims of injustice to us. The worst one. The Obasanjo administration set up an inquiry in 2005-2006. The panel was headed by Justice Gilbert Obanyo, of blessed memory. I have a copy of the report. The panel made a very startling revelation that in the Lagos area, 197 people convicted for drug trafficking and sentenced to terms of imprisonment, no option of fine, because of the gravity of the offenses, were never found in any prison in Nigeria.
So where did they go?
Once the trial judge concludes the case and turns his or her back and goes to his or her chambers, in the court premises, the syndicate constituted by prosecutors, defense counsel, prison warders, and court clerks enter into agreement, exchange money, and allow the convicts to go back to their iniquitous business. I took up the matter and I wrote to the NDLA under the Freedom of Information Act. What happened? And the NDLA politely wrote back, we're still looking for them. I even insisted they had to be declared wanted. It never happened.
Why?
System collapse. And all of us are therefore endangered.
It's a developing story as we're still trying to get the leadership of the correctional centers to respond on tape to these allegations. But we'll stay on the story and bring you an update in subsequent episodes of the program. And just before we go, a quick recap of some of the top legal stories.
We begin with the report that the Supreme Court has affirmed the 6 years imprisonment imposed on a former federal director of pensions, Mr. John Yakubu Yusuf, for misappropriating 22.9 billion naira police pension fund. In a unanimous judgment read by Justice Tijani Abubakar, the Apex Court held that the appeal of the former pension director seeking to set aside the jail term was frivolous and devoid of merit. The court also declared that the former director and others engaged in fraudulent practices must be told in clear language through court judgments that it is no longer business as usual. The court noted that victims of the convicted director deserved restitution which can only be achieved through justice. Justice Abubakar further held that the judgment of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, which in 2016 sentenced Yusuf to 2 years imprisonment with an option of 750,000 naira, was a slap on the wrist. The court then adopted the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which imposed 6 years jail term on the former pension director and also directed him to make a refund of 22.9 billion naira to the federal government. In the case of the former governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has kicked against an interim ex parte order granted by Justice Heleziro Ngajiwa of the Awka Division of the Federal High Court, granting leave to the former governor to travel to the United States of America for medical treatment. Mr. Obiano is being investigated by the EFCC for alleged corruption and money laundering during his tenure as Anambra State governor from 2014 to 2022. He was arrested on March 17, 2022 at the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos as he attempted to leave the country hours after handing over to his successor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo. Available court documents indicate that the former governor had on March 11, 2022, ahead of his handover on March 17, 2022, filed the motion ex parte asking Justice Ngajiwa, amongst others, for an interim injunction stopping the EFCC from arresting or preventing him from traveling out of the country for his medical treatment, while the court in one breath ordered the applicants to put the commission on notice why interim preservatory order should not be granted. It went ahead to make an order that the commission should not obstruct, impede, or prevent the applicants from traveling abroad to keep his medical appointment and adjourn till March the 23rd. This was followed by another motion on notice on April the 4th, putting the commission on notice to release Obiano's passport to enable him travel abroad for his medicals, with hearing fixed for April the 6th and instructions that proceedings shall be conducted virtually via Zoom. Ahead of the hearing, the EFCC has petitioned the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court asking that Justice Ngajiwa recuse himself from the suit on grounds of denial of fair hearing, amongst others. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has sacked the chairman of the People's Democratic Party Ebonyi State chapter, Mr. Tochukwu Okorie, on the grounds that he was not qualified to contest in the election that brought him to power. In his judgment, Justice Ahmed Mohammed held that Mr. Okorie was not validly nominated to contest election for the position of chairman of the party in Ebonyi State. In the suit filed by Mr. Silas Onu challenging the election of Okorie, the judge held that Okorie was indolent in submitting his nomination form 3 days after the official deadline and would not be allowed to benefit from his wrongdoing. The judge consequently directed the PDP to hold that only Onu was lawfully nominated to participate in the election of October the 16th, 2021, and to issue him a certificate of return, declaring him as the duly elected chairman of the PDP in Ebonyi State. And we round off with the report that the Benue State High Court has fixed April the 28th for judgment in the case of late 13-year-old rape victim Elizabeth Ochanya Ogbanje. Members of pressure groups as well as family and friends who stormed the court premises on Wednesday the 13th of April were disappointed to hear of another adjournment.
They expressed frustration at the delay as the case has been in court for over 3 years. Andrew Ogbuja, a lecturer at the State Polytechnic, is standing trial after being accused of raping and causing the death of the 13-year-old schoolgirl, Ochania Ogbanje, in 2018. Mr. Ogbuja and his fugitive son Victor, who are both maternal relations of the deceased, were accused of serially raping her until she fell ill and subsequently died.
That's the show. Thank you for watching. Please catch up with past episodes on our YouTube page. I'm Shola Shayeli. See you next week.